There is a global meltdown coming. It is a global depression, and one world currency and one world financial system is the end game. China said last week they want one global currency. France said yesterday or the day before that they want one world order, a new world order, at the end of this event. It's like China, Russia, France, all of them are speaking out, including the UN now, and they are publicly attacking the US dollar and support dropping it as the world's currency. That's a big deal. I think the answer to why maybe is because people just don't seem to understand the consequences of what that would mean for America. When I was growing up, this country was the world's biggest lender. But because we left the gold standard in the 1970s, we're now the world's biggest borrowers. And just like when it happens to you, if you are, really bad with a credit card, pretty soon people stop lending you money. Well, I got news for you. The rest of the world is finally catching on. Our country is going to pay a penalty as well because there's nothing backing our money up. After monetizing $2 trillion of debt in the last 2 weeks alone, our lenders are saying, I think maybe enough here is enough. They won out.
Many critics say that printing money, vast amount of money, out of thin air will bring disastrous consequences. More specifically, hyperinflation and the plunge of the U.S. dollar. Many experts have gone on record saying that the U.S. monetary policy has passed the point of no return when it comes to printing money.
We have Brazil, India, China, Russia, all talking about currency alternatives, a new world reserve currency, renegotiating contracts, new contracts outside of the U.S. dollar. Inflation, deflation, in the end, it's not going to really matter when they drop the dollar as the world reserve currency. Because right now, we can buy goods and services and print the stuff right out of the printer and give people worthless paper. In the future, we will not be able to do that. In fact, in the future, we won't be able to run up these record deficits, and there won't be a demand for the dollar. So you can debate inflation and deflation. Meanwhile, those of you that are prudent need to start preparing for a currency collapse, a currency crisis in the United States. I don't know if it's going to be global, but certainly it will have global implications. And whether or not all the currencies have a major crisis because of the collapse of the dollar is going bye-bye. I'm telling you the truth. It's an inconvenience for the world to dump the dollar, to have this system. But you know what? The system is broken. They know it's broken. It's been broken for a very long time. And with the majority of transactions done in dollars, with the previous relationship with the United States, it's inconvenient. They don't want to do it. But they're going to do it. Because they know the dollar is worthless. They know the United States cannot pay back its debts. In fact, they know it's inevitable. And the reason you want to own gold and silver and things that are going to do well when the dollar collapses is because eventually someone is going to pull the trigger. And when they pull the trigger, it's going to be a race to the bottom.
Is this, number one, constitutional, what they're doing? I don't think it is. And number two, I'm very concerned about the international moves they're making, particularly the question that there was about moving the United States off of the dollar and onto a global currency like Russia and China are calling for. This now has then put me kind of in the crosshairs, but that's why Americans have to suit up and realize what's at stake right now. We have to fight for our freedom and the future of our country. A one world currency government. And right now, this isn't talk. Russia has called for this. China, India, South Africa, Brazil,
the United
numbers
Nations.
Of stations.
Yeah.
United Nations at the G20.
Pope Benedict XVI is calling for a new world financial order. In the third encyclical of his pontificate, Benedict denounced the profit-at-all-cost mentality of the globalized economy, and he lamented that greed brought about the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. The document, entitled Charity and Truth, was released just hours before the G8 summit gets underway in Italy.
Well, now there's call for America to give up our dollar for a global currency. Gee, I think I've read that in a book somewhere. Oh, I remember the Bible, the scary part. But anyway, that would lead to a global government. The Bible, the scary part. But anyway,
it's not a conspiracy theory. This is reality. Wake up, America.
But the important thing for the American public to really understand is regardless of what legislation comes out of the federal government concerning the issuance of state driver's licenses, in the end, because of the biometric capability that's required for the digital facial image, your photograph, all Americans are being enrolled into a single global biometric identification system that will link their body to their ability to buy and sell. That will link their body to their ability to buy and sell. Buy and sell. Americans should be worried because by being enrolled into this global biometric identification system, what we have seen in the past, not in the future, is the use of closed-circuit television cameras, surveillance cameras, and biometrics, specifically facial recognition technology. We've seen those used simultaneously in real time. And the issue really becomes the presumption of innocence is lost. You are guilty until proven innocence. Those cameras you see on your streets, those cameras aren't targeted at terrorists, they're targeted at you, American citizens. And it doesn't matter if you're in your hometown or you're in Paris, France. Because of international standards that call for global interoperability, you will be able to be identified, tracked, and all personal and sensitive information about you will be known to the government in the country you're in.
I feel that joining the Verimed Physician Network gives a lot of benefits to my patients.
5 people in Puerto Rico diagnosed with Alzheimer's have now had microchips implanted into their forearms to help doctors treat them in case of an emergency.
They can change the way diabetics monitor their blood sugars with an implantable microchip like this one.
We're here in New York to unveil to the world the plans for the development of an implantable glucose sensor using RFID, or radio frequency identification technology. A tiny microchip about the size of a grain of rice would be injected into the arm of a diabetic. It gets injected like having a shot of medicine in the upper right arm area by the tricep. The chip itself lies dormant. There's no power source, there's no battery, there's no energy, so nothing's going on underneath the skin.
The chip has a 16-digit identification number. It can get scanned at a hospital, and when the number is put into a database, it can provide crucial medical information.
The Verimed system, if you know up front what someone's advanced directives are, it will guide your therapy to be most appropriate for those patients' wishes and the family's wishes.
Okay, dab it with the gauze. Clear the area.
What the hell is that? It's not a medical instrument.
This part looks like an antenna.
What, it's receiving information?
Or sending.
What?
Am I crazy? Or is this a tracking device?